Ulnar nerve transposition surgeries are very, very common. We actually did a video on this a few months back where I went over early rehab exercises for ulnar nerve transpositions. And if you're in that stage where you're in that acute stage and maybe you're only a few weeks out from surgery, definitely check that video out. But I wanted to progress and add upon that to give you guys some more practical exercise that you can use if you're a little farther into the rehab, but maybe not into that chronic long duration stage yet. I've actually had an ulnar nerve transposition myself, so I've been through this, and I've actually been through it all the way to being able to throw again at high speed, which places a ton of shear and excursion as well as tensile load on the ulnar nerve. And after having the surgery and going all the way to that, you have to make sure that you're getting your forearm musculature strong and making sure your hand muscles are strong and everything's strong to get to that point. So if you're just an average Joe or whether you're an athlete, you got to make sure you're doing the right things in rehab, and that's what I want to focus on in this video with about 5 exercises that you can implement right now. I had my right ulnar nerve transposed, so I'm going to do my right side in the video here for you guys. The first exercise, I want to focus on a muscle that runs right along here, and they actually have to cut through it partially to sometimes move the nerve where they need to get it. So based on how they do the surgery, they try to keep as much intact as possible. Things are always going to get cut, especially as they do the incision. So depending on the surgeon you had and the technique they used, they may or may not have resected or taken out a little bit of the muscle or maybe even the fascia. And then we're going to go through the pronator muscle, which they typically use a little bit of it to create a sling for the nerve. And some surgical procedures, they actually have to take the muscle off, put the nerve under, and then attach it back. And that one's a longer rehab process. So if you're having that, some of these exercises may not be applicable to you based on how long you've been doing things. So if you've been following us for a while, you've seen an exercise like this before. I got a band here. It's just a loop band, hooked it up high, not too heavy of resistance, but good enough to make it very difficult at end range. And I'm working on this right here. So I'm actually doing a motion this way. I'll do, you know, anywhere from 10 to 15. I like in this stage to still stick with a lot of endurance to hypertrophy. More hypertrophy, a little bit of endurance, and then as we get into farther stages, we'll progress to more strength-based things with lower rep ranges, longer rest periods. So I'll start there with that. And then I'll actually go inside the band, and you can use the TheraBand, you can use any band for this, and I'll do the same thing, but now I'm coming straight down. So before I did this, now I'm coming here. I know I'm getting close to the camera. Hopefully you can see it contracting right there, so I'm working more flexors. And these are my first 2 exercises. While I'm up here by the camera, I got my WB baseball shirt on. If Josh Bernberg is watching, I need some more gear. I'm going to get you some OAI gear also. So he's the new coach over there at West Bloomfield High School. So we used to play against each other, so I want to give a little shout out here. So we've done that. Now we're going to do a muscle that's actually on the opposite side of the forearm, but has to be strong. And if you're not moving your arm a lot, especially when you're in, you know, your soft cast and your splint after surgery, it's going to get weak. And that's into supination. So I'm tight grasp on the rope, nice fist here, turning, and it should be pretty hard because I'm wrapping it around my hand. These exercises shouldn't be very light, like I'm just pulling putty apart. They should be pretty difficult because I need to get those muscles strong. And I'm going to work a little bicep with that too. And I can make it a little harder. And I can do bicep if I want more bicep in the contraction, versus here it's more muscle in the forearm called supinator. But if I want more bicep, I just come the other way, and because the band is pulling me this way too, it makes me use my bicep, and I can get a good burn right there in my bicep doing this exercise. So now we've done some forearm strengthening. I always incorporate some grip strength stuff, squeezing. I'm not going to show you guys that stuff because everyone knows what it looks like, and if you don't, you can go back to our last video on early rehab exercise, and we show a little bit few variations in which you could do some grip strength exercises, but there's tons of stuff out there. So maybe if you guys are interested, I'll do a full video on grip strength in the future. But for the purpose of this video, I want to show you guys some tricep stuff that you can add in as well. So I got the same band. It's attached up high. I don't have to do it up here. I can do it down here. And I'm going to push down. And I'm actually incorporating a little bit of that pronation, which we talked about. That muscle right there that we talked about using the sling. They use the sling to hold the nerve in the general area. A lot of times, they don't always do that, but sometimes they do. I'm strengthening that at the same time as I'm strengthening my triceps, which is another muscle that becomes really weak because of inactivity. Now, some of these muscles are going to become weak and atrophy due to the trauma as well of surgery, because it is trauma. But I'm doing it down here. Now, if I'm a baseball player or a throwing athlete, softball player, I got to start to work to get it up here, and I'm doing the same thing. And this is actually a little bit more difficult, but it's not always necessary to do it up here for maybe, you know, somebody that maybe if you're a construction worker and you're pounding with a hammer, but the average Joe doesn't always need to have it up there. Once I've done those things, I like to incorporate some different closed kinetic chain exercises, but I'm going to show you guys my favorite closed kinetic chain exercise that you can work on improving your forearm strength right now. Now I'm down here on the ground. I have a soccer ball, you volleyball, whatever. You can even use a football, I guess. But basically, I got a ball down here that I'm going to use to attempt to grip while I take it through some different ranges of motion. And it's not got a ton of air in it, but that's actually better for this exercise because that makes me grip into the ball a little bit, which is one of the best variations. I'll go on an angle here so you can see. Right arm is the one I'm training. I got a decent amount of weight in my left arm, but I'm trying to progress and shift more weight to the right side. I'm going to grip the ball. I'm going to roll it around the world. It gets really hard as I get here, especially if I'm grabbing, so I don't go too far. I start off in a range like this. So if you guys are just watching this video, you start off like this. As you get better, you start exploring more ranges, gripping that ball. Now, this isn't indicated for everybody. This is a very difficult exercise, especially if you're doing it the right way. If it's not difficult, you're likely doing it wrong. And so you can start doing the same thing on the wall. You're just doing this on the wall, squeezing the ball, maybe more or less, trying different grips. Here, here, you know, maybe this one's, my thumb's hurting, go there. Shut up. Do a grip like this. So I'm trying out different things, but if it's too much load on the ground, do it against the wall, roll it around, take your wrist through different positions while you're contracting those flexors, and then I can start twisting the ball too, which is another variation to work on other forearm musculature. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate you guys staying tuned this whole time. And if you haven't yet, definitely check out the first video because you might pick up some exercises that you were never exposed to, because a lot of times they don't prescribe therapy for ulnar nerve transpositions. And you know, really, you guys, if you've gone through this surgery or you're going through this surgery, you need to make sure you're strengthening your forearm so that you can ensure the best recovery. And if you are a therapist or you're just really interested in it, check out our scar mobility stuff, because a lot of that stuff is applicable for nerve transpositions, not all of it, because you don't want to place excessive stress on the nerve, but a lot of that stuff is. So we've got videos on all of that stuff that I hope you guys will check out. Hopefully we see you in the next video. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and give us a thumbs up on this one. All right, guys, see you later.